Good morning, beautiful souls. Happy Friday. Tim Wiles' Ascension update from the woods, and it's a glorious morning. It's beautiful. It's cold and crispy, but not too unbearable. And I think the last time I sat out here, I got thoroughly drenched in this very spot. So what are we going to talk about today? What we're going to look at? I want to have a look at a question which I've been asked a few times. It's like, where are we at the moment on this particular on this trajectory of movement, of forward movement? And you might have heard me use the term 3D, 4D, 5D, and you'll have definitely heard other people use this term as well. Third dimension, fourth dimension, fifth dimension, seventh, ninth, and the ever climbing escalator up through the higher realms. And we've existed on a planet that occupied a third dimensional vibration for a long time. Okay, long time. That's what Earth was created for. It was created for as a school, a spiritual school. Now there are many learning planes throughout the universes, and Earth is highly sought after, quite simply because the experience of polarity is so nourishing on a soul level, to be able to come to Earth, learn what we learn in such an incredibly short space of time, and then move on, having mastered this particular climate that you and I probably queued up for many lifetimes in order for the privilege to incarnate here. And although a lot of you will be going, what, it's really difficult, I don't like it down here, but that's part of the experience. It's because it's so tough, and because we make such an incredible amount of progress in such a short space of time, it has been designated as like the ultimate learning destination within the universes. But something rather incredible happened on the cosmic moment, the 21st of December 2012, as Gaia, the throne angel of Earth, decided that Earth was no longer going to occupy the label of school. Okay, so we moved into a 20-year window. Now, the 20-year window, which we are exactly halfway through at the moment, is what I refer to as the fourth dimension. It's no longer low and set like it was at third, which it was for hundreds of thousands of years. It's constantly changing. It's evolving at an incredibly rapid pace. So when we moved into the fourth dimension on the 22nd of December 2012, although we woke up and it looked and felt exactly the same, everything had changed. The dynamics had been reset so that a much higher energy space could fill it, and that we could begin our journey from 3D to 5D. And we are halfway through. The chaos and the changes and the disruption around the world are an absolute, they are the evidence, all the evidence that we need, that all of this ascension awakening, the grand solar flash, all of these different names that we can call it, it is a rise in consciousness from ego to love, and it's happening while we are in this transitional window. It can do nothing else. If you look at it from the point of view that if you live on a planet that stays the same, the vibrations the same, then obviously all of the consciousness levels, they won't evolve. But from, we're talking from the harmonic convergence onwards, all of the gateways, all of the information has begun returning to planet Earth. And slowly but surely, we have been rising in frequency until we have got to the space where we are now. So why is this particular dimensional transition so short? Why are we doing this jump shift from 3D to 5D in such a short space of time? Well, the information I've received and I share with others from a collective pool is that it's actually, what we're experiencing is a little bit of an experiment. So we are normally, if a planet or a dimensional space is designated to rise in consciousness go through the ascension process, it would normally happen over a much longer period of time. Now, I've explained this before. There's other ascended kind of, like you say, the higher galactics that we communicate with, like the Pleiadians, the Syrians. All of them have gone through what we're going through at the moment previously, but like kind of lost in the mists of time as we understand it. And as they went through it, it took a lot longer. It happened over a much, much longer period of time. But you and I and everybody else on this planet has agreed to do this shift in 20 years. And it is an experiment. We're doing it to see if we can do it, because we know that we can succeed. And our success affects all of the other planets and the other consciousnesses and the other dimensional spaces that are linked to us. So there's a lot riding on this shift, okay? There's a lot riding on this grand awakening that's occurring on planet Earth at the moment. The experiment of 3D, as far as I'm concerned, got a little bit out of control. It exceeded its creative potential. It got to the point where, you know, the powers that have orchestrated and that we see every day, and I talk about them on a regular basis, the carnival show, have kind of got to the point where they want ultimate control. They want, you know, they've got to the kind of the end of what they can do with what they have available, and they want to lock it down and keep it. So here we are in the middle of this transitional evolution, and we're exactly halfway. Now, as far as I can see, the third dimension and the fifth dimension are like Mars and Venus. 3D ego and fifth dimensional consciousness, love. It's love-based, it's heart-based, it's a completely different space. When we get there, and we will be getting there, and a lot of us are currently experiencing it on a daily basis, we choose carefully our vibration now. We choose it through discernment, we choose it through intention, we choose it through manifestation, and we choose it through downright gritty hard work and the personal application of what we're doing on our pathway. And it's been tough going, and it is tough going, and it's requiring all of us at the moment, particularly at the moment at this halfway point, to really dig in deep. The opposition to this global awakening couldn't be more strong. It couldn't be stronger at the moment. It's sort of, you know, like we've seen the kind of the seeds of like the panic-stricken behavior from the third dimensional matrix as it loses all of these sources of light. Everybody's unplugging and moving away, and so and from that side of it, the show will go on. In fact, it will probably increase and intensify. But exactly at this halfway transitional point, things are starting to move very, very quickly. It's what was just originally this kind of flow of kind of sumptuous golden energy that we could tune ourselves into is now a fast moving river. The more that's added to it, the quicker it begins to flow. And that is the nature of the fourth dimension. The fourth dimension is a space that is created specifically for transition. So during that space, within that space, everything changes. It has the opportunity to rise, or it has the opportunity to fall just as easily. Okay, so it is still a dimensional space that is governed by the laws of polarity, meaning you have the choices, you can choose which way you go, but everything that you focus on and that you manifest for yourself happens a lot faster. And so it's almost like a chalkboard. When we started off this transition at the beginning of the December 2012, is that the chalkboard was clean, and we all entered into this with a lot of personal cleansing to do, a lot of personal work to do, and so much to achieve, and no idea of where we're going with that. And we've created this as we go along. We've been given the markers, we've been given the guidance, we've been given the opportunity to reclaim our master roles. And I think in the 10 years that we've been doing this, we've achieved an incredible amount. If you cast your mind back to a decade ago, where were you on a frequency level? Where were you on a vibrational level? You might have been on the pathway like I was, or you might have been years away from waking up, you know. But if you happen to have been spiritually conscious or even mindful enough to be observing where you were at the time, look at how much we've achieved in that decade. Now, things are speeding up. It's all hands on deck. There are so many of us all around the world that have now united with the express intention of ascending this planet, ascending our own personal consciousness, assisting with this shift from 3D to 5D. So although the fourth dimensional window that we're in at the moment is very small, 20 years is just like a micro dot. It's like a flash or a speck in the grand scheme of like, you know, the time and space with which flows throughout our universe. It's incredibly important. So we've been given this really short period of time in which to achieve something that usually takes hundreds of years if we were measuring it in standard time. So this is why everything's so intense. This is why it's moving so quickly. But this space is intended specifically for change. Okay, it's almost like when this move from 3D to 5D was masterminded many kind of moons ago. It was orchestrated so there would be these three streams of consciousness operating. It's 3D, 4D, 5D, all alongside each other, which is why we've got such, you know, what my granddad used to call a bugger's muddle sort of thing, like all going on around, and it's very difficult if you're confused or distracted to pick the correct stream, which is why I'm always saying aim as high as you possibly can. Don't ever think that you're doing too much or aiming too high or using too higher vibrations. The highest point is where we need to be aiming at the moment, and with the least amount of distractions. So we've got another 10 years designated to us in this fourth dimensional vibration, okay, within which that time we will still be privy to the same kind of playground rules as there were in 3D, but at the same time it will be very different. And the reason why it's different is because you and I and everybody else who's stepped onto this ascension pathway are now holding a very different vibration. It's a space in which we have the ability to expand and grow very rapidly if we wish to do so, if we've got the right tools, we've got the right point of focus. And which leads me on to the target date of 2032. Now, this target date was originally brought through by Diana Cooper and other people about being the end of the transition. So by 2032, the majority of all of this shifting, all of this kind of chaotic goings on around us will have settled down. And what you and I and everybody else who's chosen the ascension pathway will be experiencing is a much higher degree of consciousness. So by then, or even now, we've achieved so much. Even now, we're starting to think with our hearts. Okay, now this is an unconscious process because the whole reconnecting to our hearts has been going on now for a considerable period of time. We've even unknowingly connected into this powerful driving center of the ascension process, and it's leading and guiding us. So we're no longer kind of taking our prompts so much from the outside. We're not being told where to go or what to do anymore. We're being led by the vibration that is guiding us, and that is not just an individual one, it is a unity. It's a unity consciousness. Once you start thinking and feeling from the heart, you link into that incredible heart field that is all around the planet. And that, my lovelies, is what I believe the fifth dimension actually is. Okay, it's not, like I've said before in workshops, a holiday destination. Okay, it's not somewhere where we kind of like, oh, I'm off to the fifth, I'm off to 5D. Okay, and so like you pack your bags and you get on your plane and you go sailing, or you go flying off to 5D. That's kind of a misconception that many of us had before this all started, because we didn't know how we were going to do it. The whole process is completely experimental. So in a fifth dimensional vibration, at where we're going, inevitably where this is all heading, is a unified space where we all function from the heart. Now, when we get there in 10 years, the planet might not look incredibly different, but there will be fundamental changes that have occurred in the way that we interact with ourselves, interact with each other, interact with the planet, interact with nature. Everything will have gone into the beginnings of the process of societal and structural change. Now, one very interesting point that was raised to me was an email by a lovely lady who asked, well, they found it slightly unnerving that there's kind of like this, there's very much a third dimensional kind of operation in tow at the moment, which you'll have all heard of, called the Great Reset, or Agenda 2030, or whatever you want to call it. And that's being operated by the people who have had control of the 3D matrix for a very long time. And although these people are inherently seeking control or retaining control on our planet, they're also very spiritually clued up. Make no mistakes about who they are and how tuned in they actually are, but they're tuned into the wrong end of the vibration, if you see what I mean. It's though they may think they mean well, in actual fact it means seeking control to sustain the third dimensional matrix as it was, which means that we have no freedom to evolve. Now that's ultimately the difference between where we've been and where we're going to. So it might look initially like these two agendas are either the same, or but in actual fact they're running parallel alongside each other. And what you'll notice over the years, a lot of these keywords that you hear in the media are actually ones that we are using ourselves, because almost like we're piggybacking off each other at the same time to be moving very much forwards, only we're flowing into this unity grid and detaching ourselves very much from where we've come from. So don't ever be worried about where you're putting your energy. And if you are worried about where you're putting your energy or the information that you've received, I mean, this goes back to the discernment videos that I've recorded in the past, where you take it into your heart. Okay, you take that into your heart center. If you've got a question, if you want to know the answer, if something's confusing you or you need extra guidance, the first place that you go to is yourself, for your heart. How does that information vibrate with you? If something is given to you and you're not sure about it, you take it through the vibration of the heart, and your heart will tell you instantaneously whether it chimes with you or not. And there's no confusion within the heart center. Okay, it completely bypasses the kind of the net of the ego, where the little voices will tell you maybe not to trust yourself or trust the person that's told you, and all of the other things that kind of get thrown into the mix. And that again will be our guiding force for the next year, 2 years, 3 years, and until we flow into this kind of magical prediction that we've got for ourselves. Now, I and many others feel that we are way ahead of progress. So we've got our target date of 2032, but we've achieved so much in such a short space of time that I feel that, like, you know, we'll have reached where we need to be, or where we were kind of designated to be years before that. So that's a little bit of an explanation about the terms dimensions. It's all, you know, when you're using numbers and descriptions for things, that's all they are. They're human descriptions. A dimension is a vibration, and it begins at a certain percentage and it ends at a certain percentage. Then it moves up to the next one. So it's like, you know, it's like a vibrational ladder. And once you get to the top end of the fifth dimension, you're starting to talk about non-physical. Okay, you're starting to talk about you getting into the vibration where physical reality is no longer a necessity. But for all intents and purposes, where we're going with the fifth dimension, where we're going at the moment on a current trajectory of evolution, we're going to be retaining our lovely physical bodies, having this lovely physical experience on this amazingly beautiful planet that we're all going to look after. Okay, we're all going to look after each other. We're going to look after the planet. We're going to look after everything that exists on it, and we're going to function harmoniously. That's the Atlantean, that's the gold print, that's the Atlantean community gold print that we've been moving into. And you've heard me talk about that before. If you want to learn more about the kind of, or the activity of the navel chakra or the gold print of humanity, then go to my website www.timwild.com and check it out, because I've talked about it before. So yeah, we are exactly halfway through the 4D window. Okay, although it's a blink of an eye on evolution scale, I think most of us on a soul level will remember this experience for a very, very long time. And what we're doing at the moment here on this planet will be shared amongst countless communities in other dimensional spaces, other vibrations, other planets, because it is so unique. Okay, we're pioneering a movement, an ascension movement, a transition in such a unique way, in such a very short space of time, which is why I think we should all be so proud of where we are at the moment and give ourselves the credit that we need, and understand why it is actually been as challenging as it is. And just before I sign off, and I'd like to give a shout out for my good friend Gemma Jones, who's recorded a interview with myself and her. I'm going to put the link in the information under, and she runs a site called Light of the Soul, and it was a lovely conversation. So have a listen if you feel so. And I'm going to be running a workshop by myself on the 16th, and I'm looking at light worker PTSD. Okay, now light worker PTSD is very different, but not from the classic, you know, the kind of the medical terminology that I believe it is a collective shared experience that we've all kind of gone through during our wake up period. It's about how we deal with the emotional states that we find ourselves in when we're being challenged, when we're being initiated, when we've become aware of the human experience and what we go through down here. It's going to be an interesting one. It's a new subject for me. It's one that was given to me and I was told, have a look at this. I think this will explain a lot. So looking forward to having you joining me for that on the 16th. And on the 22nd, Diana Cooper and I are running our Master Builder workshop together. Loads of love. See you all soon. Have a beautiful weekend. Talk to you on Monday.